Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Model Building Start to Finish. This is John talking, and I'm sitting here with Dan, and we broke out that one on the left there, Dan. I thought we were done.
I brought 5111 back because it already has its ditch lights installed, and that's what we're going to work on this time.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last time.
Ditch lights. So I wanted to show, what they look like when they're actually on. The ditch light housing is a detail part casting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then they're lit with very tiny LEDs.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a couple different options because there's a couple different detail parts available for those ditch light housings, and basically your options are metal or plastic.
Uh-huh.
Plastic has the advantage in that there's no chance that it will short out the LED. Disadvantage of plastic is the LED will make the plastic glow.
Oh, that's not... Yeah. So you're using metal.
Well, yeah. You can use plastic, but basically what you want to do is paint it black first,
Mm-hmm.
and then prime it and paint it so that the black paint acts as a kind of a light barrier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm going to use some metal castings, so we'll move on and take a look at those. So I've decided to use Details West Part number 228. These are both Details West Part 228.
What do you mean?
Well, these both came out of a package that said number 228, and one package had this, and one package had this. So I think what this is this is an older version, and this is a newer version.
Oh, okay. That makes a little more sense.
Yeah, the older one, I'm assuming this is older, so I'm just going to say that, is a two-piece casting. There's a back piece, and then this front piece. And then it also includes bulbs, which I'm not going to use.
Yeah, you don't use bulbs.
Right, because most of these, a lot of ditch lights are lit, even on commercial models, they're lit with the bulb shoved up into the ditch light, so it's actually pointing up. That looks really bad because the light is not shining out the front. It's shining toward the top, so the ditch light's going to be really dim.
Uh-huh.
This is the newer version. Now, this is a one-piece casting, and then it also includes these little lenses, which I probably won't use because I'm going to make my own, because I'm doing it the Dan way. You could use these, though, if you're not quite as fussy as I am, and it would look probably okay. The only disadvantage to these is that they need to be drilled out because there's no space inside for anything right now. I'm going to go ahead and use the newer one since I think that's the current production.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other part of the equation is the actual light itself. These are actually 402 sized surface mount LEDs that I bought with the wires pre-soldered.
So these don't come with the castings.
No, these I got off eBay, and I usually don't get the pre-soldered ones because in the past they've been kind of expensive, but I actually got these pretty cheap. They were sold in packages of 10, I think, and it was, I don't remember the price, and unfortunately I don't remember the vendor, but if you do a search on eBay for LEDs, you could probably find some. And these are warm white. I'm going to light it up.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so
pretty
it's bright.
Pretty bright, too.
Yeah, really bright and a good color. And and these will fit very nicely into those ditch light housings. Another thing I like about these particular LEDs is that the leads are soldered on in such a way so that the LED is vertical.
Okay.
And that's actually perfect for a ditch light because we're going to insert the LED from the bottom.
So that'll make the light go horizontal.
Right. It'll make the light shine out the front. I keep this around to test LEDs. And all it is it's a 9-volt battery with a 9-volt battery holder. I soldered a resistor on one end so I don't fry the LEDs. And then what I do is I just temporarily can solder the leads to an LED to either wire. And that way it's an easy way to test them.
Yep.
Because one thing I should mention is I've already done this with the ones I'm using, but you want to make sure when you're using these LEDs that you color match them.
Yeah.
These all seem to be pretty consistent, but I have had some instances where the surface mount LEDs are slightly different colors, so that looks kind of funny if you have two ditch lights that are slightly different colors.
Yeah, I've never seen a real train like that.
Yeah, so it's a good idea to give them a little test and make sure they actually look the way they're supposed to. This casting has to be drilled out, and there's already an indentation in the bottom to get you started.
Yes.
The instructions say to use a number 55 drill bit. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to use it in a pin vise so I can control it. I don't want to use power tools because you want to make sure that it goes in nice and straight and doesn't come out somewhere that it's not supposed to.
Oh, that would suck.
Yeah, and obviously you don't want to drill all the way through. You basically want to, you also need to drill a little bit into the light opening itself.
Uh-huh.
And so what you want to do basically is to make 2 holes that kind of meet inside.
Yeah, you're creating kind of an L shape.
Right, without punching through the thing in either direction.
You know, it's curious. Why wouldn't they just build it with the hole? I don't understand.
Probably because
that.
it won't. It probably has something to do with the casting process. So anyway, it's soft metal, so it really doesn't take that much effort to drill. But you just want to make sure that it goes in nice and straight when you start doing it. So I've finished drilling this out with my number 55 drill bit, and I've got the 2 holes to meet. Now the next step that I'm going to do is to drill out the ditch light itself with a 1/16 drill bit, just where the lens would go. Now, if you're going to use the lenses that come with the kit, don't do this.
Oh, so
this is for doing it the Dan way.
Right. So this is for your special custom lens that you're going to put on it.
Right. So I'm just going to, basically just enlarging this hole a little bit is what I'm doing.
But not all the way through to the other one, right?
No. Just so it meets up with the other hole inside.
So it's kind of like a countersink move, sort of?
It's just reaming out the hole that's to make it bigger.
Okay.
So I left this little stem on while I was working on this thing because it makes a convenient handle.
Yes.
But now I'm going to nip it off.
Oh, so you don't even need it?
No, I can do it without damaging there. Now I'll just file the top of the casting to get rid of that little nub that's left over.
Yeah, somehow I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah. So one last thing, the ditch light on the right is pretty much stock.
Uh-huh.
And you notice it has a little half round kind of a bump thing.
Yeah, that goes all the way along the length of it there.
Right. And that's basically the part that I drilled out part way so that the light can go in there. It's not really realistic. The real ditch lights are flat on the back. So to sort of minimize that and make it look a little better, I kind of filed the top of it. I can't file the whole thing off because it would open up that channel and expose it. And then we'd have to do something else to...
Yeah, you'd have to put a piece of plastic on the back of it or something, huh?
Right. So I just filed it at an angle, and I think it'll look a little better that way. I've taken some of the stuff off the nose of the locomotive so that I have a little more room to work.
Mm-hmm.
And what I need to do is to drill some mounting holes for the ditch lights.
Oh, right.
And after a lot of studying of pictures, it looks like they're set about 2.5 feet center line to the center line of the engine.
Right.
So the center line of the ditch light would be right about here. Here's the center line of the engine, which you can see from the point on the anti-climber. And then about 6 inches back from the front of the anti-climber.
Right. So this is a scale ruler you're using, right?
Right. Yeah, this is an HO scale ruler. So what I'm going to do first, since the castings actually have a fairly large round piece on the bottom that sticks down, I'm going to drill a small pilot hole first.
Oh, for a bigger bit?
Right, and then we'll drill it out. So I need to, I'm going to use a number 76 bit for the pilot holes. So I've drilled my pilot holes, and if you notice, the ditch light has this little mounting nub on the bottom.
Right.
So I have to drill partway now into here with a larger drill bit. And I'm actually going to use a succession of larger drill bits just to make sure that it's a gentle process because I don't want to destroy what's already here or rip off this deck plating or destroy the details underneath. So when you're drilling through, you have to be careful not to drill through the stuff that's already mounted down here.
Okay, so key point then is don't drill all the way through the front of the engine here.
It only needs to be this long.
So it only needs to recess about, what is that, 0.2 of an inch maybe?
I don't know.
Or less.
It's like a millimeter or something like that. So I ended up having to ream it out to 3/32 drill bit size.
Mm-hmm.
And I test fit these things, and they seem to be in the right places.
That's good.
Yeah, because now there's big holes, so it would be hard to fix now. I should point out that these are just sitting there at this point. I haven't actually glued them on yet, as you can see. So there's
those are huge holes. Look at that.
Yeah. Okay, so one more thing to do is to drill a hole for the wires.
There's always something else.
Yeah. So the hole from the top that goes through the anti-climber actually passes to the outside of this hole assembly of details here.
Uh-huh.
So the wires are going to come down on the outside, but they're still going to be in front of the pilot. So I need to drill a hole through the pilot so I can run the wires into the locomotive.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is the bottom of the pilot is hollow.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to use a drill. I'm using a number 70 drill. The exact drill size doesn't really matter. It just has to be big enough for two small wires.
Right. And small enough to be inconspicuous.
Right. So I'm gonna drill it right up underneath this thing so that it'll come out on the inside.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're hiding the wires.
Right.
Yeah. So we're looking from the bottom now.
Right. So as you can see, I left the drill in here so you can see how the hole is. I actually drilled it at kind of an angle. Again, it doesn't really matter because you're never going to see this.
Yeah.
But the wires come through the pilot under the anti-climber and then end up under the sill. So now that I've got all the mechanical stuff taken care of, I can start wiring up the ditch lights. And what I want to do is, first I want to make sure that this LED is pointed forward, basically the same direction that the ditch light is. And then I'll push it through this hole. And what I want to do is line up the actual LED dead center of this ditch light hole opening in the front.
That will ensure that it's shining through the center of the lens you're going to make.
Right. And you want it to be pointing forward, not, sideways or something.
Right.
So this is what I got so far. I used a little canopy glue, which is kind of like a white glue, to glue the wire to the front of the inside of the ditch light casting, because the hole that I drilled is actually a lot bigger than those wires, so it's kind of flopping around in there.
Oh, I see.
So the glue is kind of a temporary thing. I want to do something else to reinforce it next. So this is a piece of 040 square styrene. What I'm going to do is file it to create sort of a half round shape on the back.
Okay.
And leave the front flat.
And what's this for?
This is to reinforce the wire inside the ditch light casting. So I've cut a little piece of that half round stuff I just filed, and I'm going to put it behind the wire and just push it up in there.
I see. And then that'll keep the wires. I get it. I see what you're doing.
It holds it a lot steadier.
Yeah, it's wedged in there.
Yeah. Okay, so I got the ditch light together and I can test it out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now, if you were going to use the lenses that came with the kit, you'd be pretty much done now, at least until after it's painted. However, since I'm doing this the Dan way, there's one more step. So I've got some 1/16 outside diameter aluminum tube from K&S.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is use a 1/16 drill bit to kind of countersink the end of this just a little bit.
Oh, so you're just opening it up. I see what you're doing. No, I remember this now because you're gonna heat up some fiber optics, aren't you?
Eventually, yeah. This is basically to make something that looks kind of like a little reflector.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this really ugly piece of wood just as a cutting surface, so I don't wreck anything nice. I'm going to take my razor saw and I'm going to cut off just a little tiny piece of the end of this tube where I countersunk it.
All right. Just enough to hold your lens, I would imagine, right?
Right. Obviously can't be too deep because it's got to fit in that ditch light opening.
This is some pretty fine-tuned work here.
Yeah. So now I'm going to put my little piece of tubing into the opening with the countersunk side out.
Wow, this is really working with some small stuff.
And just push it in. Okay, so the ditch lights are now pretty much complete. As you can see, I've stuffed a piece of 030 fiber optic strand into one of them.
Yes.
Eventually I'm going to make fiber optic lenses for these. Very short ones, obviously. But I usually shove a couple pieces of scrap fiber optic in these while I'm painting them so that I don't get paint on the LED.
Right.
So these are pretty much ready to paint now.
Uh-huh.
So there really isn't much more that I can do with these until after the model is painted and we're ready to do the final assembly.
Oh, so that means we're done with this chapter?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I think that would be a good place to end it. And we'll pick it up again next time and finish up some details in the cab.
Okay, then we'll see everybody next time. So see you then.